My name is Amelia Taylor, and I never thought I'd be sharing a story that would shake the very roots of what most people believe about our world and its future. At 51, I was living what looked to be an ordinary life in suburban Minnesota, working as a high school counselor and raising 2 teenagers with my husband Mark. Like many, we attended church occasionally, said grace before meals, and I considered myself spiritual, but not particularly religious. That all changed after my experience with death, and more importantly, with the truth about what's coming to our world. That fateful day started like any other. The air was cool in the morning and smelled like spring flowers and freshly cut grass. As I left my office at Riverside High School, I thought about what a beautiful day it was. I had just finished a very helpful therapy session with a student who was having problems, and my heart felt good. If I had known what was going to happen, I might have made more of the last few moments of normalcy. In and of itself, the accident was sudden and strange. I was getting close to Maple and 5th, which is only 3 blocks from our house. I kept going, even though the light had just turned green, because I was already thinking about the chicken I needed to thaw for dinner. Then everything changed. The driver of a delivery truck was on the phone and didn't notice the red light. I remember hearing the tires screech and the metal flash. There was also a strange moment when everything was clear and time seemed to slow down. I didn't have much time to think before the truck's head hit my driver's side door. This is going to hurt. The effect was terrible. I could hear metal being crushed and glass breaking, and then there was quiet. Nothing but complete and utter silence. What happened next would forever change how I think about reality, the truth, and the fight between the stars that is about to happen on Earth. I felt like I was floating above the accident scene and watched with interest as the first rescuers arrived. The strangest feeling ever, like I was in a movie and the crowd was the main character. I could see that I was slouched over the steering wheel and that blood was coming out of a cut on my scalp. As they carefully pulled me out of the wreckage, the paramedics worked quickly and carefully, their faces etched with focus. Nothing. One of them yelled and started chest compressions right away. As they laid my body out on the road, I watched. The afternoon sun cast long shadows over the scene. As more people watched, their faces showed a mix of fear and morbid interest. One of them was Mrs. Henderson, whom I knew from the grocery store. She was shocked and had her hand on her mouth. The paramedics kept working hard, doing their jobs as efficiently as they knew how. Okay, another shock from the defibrillator sent my body arching upward, but my heart stayed still. As I watched them work, time seemed to stop, and their moves got more and more desperate. Then everything changed. The scene of the accident started to fade, like a TV signal going out. I felt pulled toward a light that came from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The light was different from anything I had ever seen or felt. It wasn't harsh or blinding. Instead, it was a living glow that seemed to pulse with love and intelligence. It gave me such deep peace that all my worries about the world just went away. As I moved toward the light, I felt more than just a presence. I looked at the picture or figure of Jesus Christ in a church, but the real Jesus Christ standing in front of me was nothing like those. His look was impossible to describe in words. He was there in the real world, but he was also more than that. He gave off a love that was so pure and strong that it made me cry. When he looked at me, I felt fully known, understood, and loved beyond measure. His eyes were full of wisdom that would never end. Adriana, he spoke, and I could feel his voice in my body. What you are about to see needs to be shared with other people. There isn't much time left, and my people need to know what's going to happen. He led me through what I thought was a veil of pure light by taking my hand. It felt amazing, like walking through a waterfall of live energy. I felt more alive than I ever had in my body because the warmth went through every part of me. The world around us changed into what looked like a huge amphitheater of light as we came out the other side. Scenes from the past, present, and future played out in front of us like live holograms. Jesus warned, "Watch carefully." His voice was strong with authority and deep kindness. "I will show you how the big lie that is coming starts, how it spreads, and how it will try to trick even my most loyal fans." The first vision came to life in amazing clarity in front of us. I saw our world falling into a time of crisis that had never been seen before. More and more natural disasters were happening, like earthquakes that destroyed cities, floods that wiped out coastlines, and storms that destroyed whole areas. But these were just the start. Jesus explained that these things will make it possible for the liar to come out. People will be eager for answers, and for someone to bring order back to the chaos. I watched as the world's economy fell apart. All over the world, stock markets crashed at the same time. Digital banking systems went down, and currencies lost all their value suddenly. People who had been rich suddenly didn't have any money. Almost all of the middle class went away. Unrest broke out in places all over the world. The scenes were very scary. Ordinary people fighting over basic needs, neighborhoods turning into war zones, and governments having a hard time keeping things in order. Jesus told them to pay close attention to how these disasters are not random. They are planned out, like how the pieces on a chessboard in space are moved. Then I saw him, the person Jesus said was the Antichrist. He was a fairly unknown figure in European affairs at first, but he quickly became very important. He was different from any leader I had ever seen. He looked like he was in his early 40s and had traits that people of all races could recognize. His physical look was interesting, but not too much. People were drawn to him just by being there. His speech had a hypnotic quality that made people feel like it could reach into their souls. During the worst part of the global crisis, I watched him speak at the UN. His words were masterfully chosen. They brought together themes of peace, togetherness, and human potential in a way that spoke to everyone, no matter what they believed or where they came from. Jesus told them to pay attention to what he said. Notice how he only tells parts of the truth, just enough to keep people from coming to me. I heard this man talk about spirituality in a way that included all religions, while also gently attacking their main ideas. He used passages from the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, and other holy books, but he always changed the meaning of them slightly. He talked about Christ, but not as the only way to be saved. He talked about God, but not as a caring father, but as an impersonal force. I saw how this boss started to carry out what he called the Global Harmony Initiative. After the vision changed, it began with real-world answers to problems that affected everyone. He came up with new technologies that could quickly clean water, systems that could grow food in any climate, and energy solutions that didn't seem to follow any rules of physics. Jesus said that these technological wonders would be one of his most effective ways to trick people. People will think he is fixing problems that people have been having for thousands of years. I saw him introduce a new economic system that he said would end poverty and make sure that resources were shared fairly. It started with a global digital currency that was sold as a way to fix the economy. The way the system was made was clever. It got rid of corruption, stopped theft, and made sure that all deals were completely open and honest. But then Jesus showed me the darker reason for these new ideas. The economy turned into a way to keep people in line. Every buy transaction and financial choice was kept track of and watched. People's social credit scores, which were based on their actions, connections, and even the things they said on social media, were linked to how much they spent. Jesus told me to pay attention to how the system changed over time and see how the control got tighter. Each month that went by, the technology got more intrusive. Digital IDs, cashless payments, and biometric security were meant to make life easier, but they turned into a web of monitoring and control. I saw that people were open to these changes at first, even excited about them. Who wouldn't want to be able to get to their medical records right away, move easily, and feel safer? Then I saw the small change though. The leader started putting in place what he called protocols for social harmony. People who spoke out against the system were suddenly denied access to services. People whose social credit scores went down, when they questioned official stories about what was going on in the world, found it harder to move or buy things. He said, "Notice how he doesn't need to use obvious force. The system itself acts as the policeman." Artificial intelligence systems were put in place to look at people's face expressions, voice tones, and online activities. This made me very scared. The technology could tell ahead of time who would try to fight the new order. People who were seen as possible breakers were left alone as their friends and family slowly pulled away, afraid that being around them would hurt their social scores. The leader's technological feats got more amazing. He seemed to be able to do amazing things with a mix of modern holographic technology and supernatural power. I saw him what looked like curing incurable diseases, controlling the weather, and even bringing the dead back to life. Millions of people around the world watched the protests live. Jesus said that these miracles and signs would be so impressive that many people who know the Bible would be fooled. People will think that this person is the one who will make the world peaceful. But what scared me the most was how he started to change religion itself. He talked about a new spirituality that would bring people of all religions together. I watched as he stood in Jerusalem and spoke words that seemed to bring people of different religions together. After hundreds of years of fighting, Muslims, Jews, and Christians were all drawn to his message of peace and truth for everyone. But he didn't rebuild the temple in Jerusalem the same way it had been. The new temple was made so that people of all faiths could use it. It has places for different kinds of prayer. It was a work of architecture that seemed to challenge physics, because it was made of materials that changed color and shape based on what people inside thought and felt. Jesus said in a sad tone, "This is how he will trick many of my people." He won't seem to be against faith. Instead, he will seem to support it. In the minds of many, he is the one who brings the kingdom of God to earth. I saw how this leader used cutting-edge neurotechnology to make spiritual experiences happen. People could wear special gadgets that put them in deep mystical states and made them feel like they were linked to the divine. Many people gave up their old faith in favor of this new, technologically mediated spirituality because these experiences were so powerful. The image changed to show me how people would be treated if they didn't follow his rules. At first, it was quiet. People who didn't want to follow the new rules became more and more alone. They couldn't go to shops to buy food, hold jobs, or get medical care. Their kids were not allowed to go to school. It wasn't shown as punishment though. All of this was done to protect people's health and safety. Jesus said that the mark he will need will make sense and be useful. It will be sold as a way to make sure safety, health, and wealth. A lot of people won't see it for what it is. A promise to support his system, which sets them apart from me. I saw how this mark would be used. It was a smart mix of biology and digital identity. It wasn't a simple mark on the body. It was a complex device that worked with human biology. People who agreed to it got access to better health, more powerful sensory experiences, and a direct neural link with the world's computer network. Jesus then showed me how the lie would hurt families and towns. In the next part of the vision, I saw parents turn against their kids, brothers break up, and friendships that had been going on for a lifetime fall apart. The worst part was that people who agreed with the system really thought they were doing the right thing. Jesus said in a sad voice, "Many will betray their own loved ones because they think that telling others about their dangerous beliefs will help them." It was amazing to see how churches would change. A lot of people gave up on old beliefs and started following the new leaders' more educated reading of the Bible. Pastors whose congregations accepted this new faith saw huge growth, while those whose congregations didn't accept it were called extremists and hate groups. Every part of society was affected by the leaders' rule. The whole idea of education was changed, and kids were taught from a very young age about the benefits of becoming fully connected to the global system. History was changed not by telling outright lies, but by changing small details in a way that made all claims of exclusive truth look like the causes of all of humanity's issues. See how he swings for the fences with peace. Jesus told me to think about what was going on in other countries. I saw this man try to make peace deals in places where there had been war for generations, deals that seemed impossible. He ended the war between Israel and the Palestinians in a way that seemed to please both sides. Under his watch, nuclear bombs were taken apart around the world. He was in charge of reorganizing the military into a global peacekeeping group. After that, Jesus showed me what was really going on. Full monitoring and control were used to keep the peace. The things that everyone did, said, and thought were watched and graded. People who held harmful views, like the exclusive claims of Christianity, were seen as possible threats to peace around the world. Jesus said that this is how the oppression would start. Not with violence, but with the quiet killing of those who stand for the truth. I saw how it became almost impossible to fight against the system. It was impossible to stay away from digital money. There were no longer any other ways to exchange money. There was monitoring everywhere. AI systems listened in on talks and watched people's actions, even in their own homes. There was a lot of social pressure. People who didn't want to fit in were cut off from society totally. But even though it was dark, Jesus showed me something beautiful. Small groups of true followers who stuck to their faith. They found ways to help each other by sharing resources and giving each other support. Even though they were being persecuted more and more, their faith got stronger, not weaker. That's who I love, Jesus said with love in his voice. Because they really know me, they can tell when I'm lying. They are strong, not because of who they are, but because of my spirit inside them. Then Jesus showed me how the leader's true nature would come out in the end. Once he had consolidated his power and gotten rid of all real opponents, his message of unity and tolerance would give way to calls for worshipping him completely. People who had agreed to accept his mark and his system would be trapped because the technology they had agreed to use would tie their thoughts and bodies to his control. Christ told them very clearly, "The time to get ready is now." Once the lie is fully put into place, it will be very hard to fight back unless you have full faith in me. Rather than building bunkers or stockpiling goods, he showed me how people could get ready by building a strong relationship with him. Only those who really knew his voice, had stored his words in their hearts, and had learned to trust his spirit would be able to spot the lie. As my time with Jesus came to an end, he gave me one last set of visions, which were signs of hope in the middle of the darkness that was to come. I saw small groups of Christians getting together in people's homes. Their faith was stronger even, though they were being persecuted. Even though the world around them was falling apart in well-planned chaos, they were at peace that no one could explain. Remember these scenes. Jesus told them in a voice that was both strong and gentle, "The fight will be tough, but the victory is already ours. People who stay true to me will find strength they didn't know they had." Then he looked at me, and his eyes saw right through me. "Adriana, you need to tell people what you saw. Let them know that the trick will be subtle. Peace, wealth, and togetherness will be promised along with it. Tell them that technology will be used to copy miracles, which will make a lot of people think they are seeing God's hand when they are really just seeing carefully made tricks." "How can they believe me?" I asked, because I felt like this duty was too much to handle. He answered in a soft voice, "Some will not. But people whose hearts are ready will know that what you say is true. They will see that what you saw matches what is written in my word. Many people may be saved from the big lie that's coming because of the warning you carry." Then Jesus told me what to look out for. The fast growth of brain interface technology, the push for a single global digital currency, the creation of AI systems that can predict and change human behavior, and the rise of technology that makes spiritual experiences better. He said that these changes are not bad in and of themselves, but they will be used to make a system of control that looks good but ties people's lives to the liar. There was a change in the air before I could ask more questions. As the light changed, I knew it was almost time for me to leave. I will never forget the last words Jesus spoke to me as he put his hands on my shoulders. I love them so much that it will never end. They should be told that if they stick to the truth, no system, technology, or lie can remove them from me. There is not much time left, and the lie will be strong, but I will never leave or forsake those who are truly mine. All of a sudden, I felt like I was being pulled back. The beautiful light started to go out, and voices calling my name from far away. It was like being thrown into ice water when I came back to my body. When I opened my eyes quickly, I gasped. I was in a hospital room, surrounded by medical equipment and shocked people. It was clear that I was dead for 4 minutes and 17 seconds. People who work in medicine called it a miracle. After being without air for so long, they couldn't figure out how I had lived without brain damage. But I knew it was more than just a miracle in medicine. It was an appointment from God, a task that Jesus himself gave me. The months that have passed since my experience have been hard and life-changing. Some people think that my story is just a dream, caused by my brain dying. Others pay close attention because they can feel the truth in what I say. I've seen things happen that Jesus showed me would happen. The fast growth of technology, the push for world unity at all costs, and the slow loss of absolute truth are all things that concern me. Every day I see more and more clues that the lie is about to start. Digital IDs, cashless payments, neural connections, and AI systems that can read and change human behavior are all innovations that seem to be good for society. With each step forward, we get closer to the system I saw. I also see hope though. People start to understand my story as I tell it to them in small groups and one-on-one talks. In time, they start to see the patterns and realize how important it is to base their faith on knowing Jesus directly. Not just hearing about him. Everything about how I live has changed because of what I did. The most important thing in my life is now faith, not just a side thing. I thank God every day for giving me a second chance and giving me the chance to tell other people about this important matter. I hope that people who read this will think about it and get closer to Jesus while they still can. If you don't believe my story, this is all I can say. Keep an eye on things and pray. Pay attention to what Jesus showed you. There will be lies, but there will also be him. And in that truth lies our only hope and success. No more sitting on the fence. We have a clear choice. Will we base our lives on the truth that never changes about Jesus Christ? Or will the coming lie sweep us away? The answer to that question will decide not only our lives here on earth, but also our lives forever.